His first touches stopper today. Found Hasler and now Trimboli trying to release Awaritefe. A bit of a mistake by Rumora. He looked at the lines when Awaritefe's on his way and he's put it in too. Francis Awaritefe has continued the sensational run. His 9th goal of the season. The first mistake by the Sydney CSC defence, and they were well and truly punished. An amazing start. Just 1 minute and 15 seconds in. Rumora had earlier made the error. Awaritefe kept his cool. Babic chased. Franken came out. 1-0 South Melbourne. Back with Ivan Petkovic. Trying to release Krslovic. Durakovic was thinking about his keeper. Krslovic came through. Wade's under pressure. There's the shot. And just wide of Dean Anastasiadis' goal. Sliding it through for Krslovic. That'll be the duel today. Wade against Krslovic. Milicevic with a fine overlapping run. Hasler's going across. Hasler, did he bring him down? The referee says yes. Penalty to Sydney CSC in the 13th minute of the game. Hasler walks away. You'll see here, no doubts. Well, Francis Awaritefe had put his team ahead. About 75 seconds in. There were signs that Sydney CSC were coming back. We've only had now 13 minutes and 20 on my watch as Tony Krslovic lines it up. And straight through the centre. It's 1-1. Tony Krslovic. His 6th goal of the season. Trimboli's at the near post. Wade's ready for the run. In it comes. More towards Awaritefe. Trimboli, can he turn it? He lays it off. Wade! It's stuck in. Has it in the end though. Wade will be credited, I think. The Socceroo, who's been appointed captain to replace Blair, has put them back ahead at 2-1. And we haven't even had 16 minutes on. Some of the visiting fans rejoicing in front of me here in the commentary position. It was always a dangerous corner. The control from Trimboli kept his cool, laid it off for Wade. Wade poked at it. It was blocked. And, well, in the end, it's an OG, Robbie Stanton. Have a look at the replay again. Stanton was the man on the line. I think Wade will be credited anyway. Trimboli's the man in possession there. Lines it up for Wade. He stabs at it. Stanton tries his best to bobble towards him, and it rolls over 2-1. Gary Hasler could be a relieved man after that goal. That's a beautiful ball for Boutsianis. Some ball, Boutsianis! Oh, that was some shot indeed from young Con Boutsianis. Petkovic. Can Sydney CSC come back? This is a pretty good solo run. Now Lamond, he goes for a shot, remarkable save from Anastasiadis. That's the reason why Dean Anastasiadis is keeping Bruce McLaren out of this first 11. Lamond would have thought it was certainly going to be a goal, but Dean Anastasiadis had plenty to say about that. Rumora. Looking for Krslovic. That was Durakovic. Can Popovic get there? He can. Lamond again. That's not a bad strike. Sensational goals in the season. And haven't we seen quite a few? That reminded me so much of the goal Van Edmond scored from Marconi against Adelaide City. Lamond, who by his own high standards has had a relatively quiet first half, but he's come back with a vengeance. Just moments earlier, Anastasiadis denied him with a great save to his right, but the youngster had no chance at all with that one. An interesting first half. It's time again to call out Muscat through suspension. That's for several positional changes. Paul Wade shifts to stopper. Gary Hasler moves into midfield, and Danny Wright takes Hasler's left back position. David Healy is promoted to right back. Confusing, isn't it? But such is the depth of the championship favourites. Sydney CSC have lost just one of their past 9 games. Former young Socceroo Mark Babic is back in the first 11, replacing suspended Velimir Kuprashak. One of the most pleasing aspects of this lineup is that 6 of the starting 11 are junior products. There was a change in the first half, with Tom Milicevic being replaced because of a groin strain. And another junior came on, Mirko Jurilj. Well, what a goal it was from Lamond that pulled it back to 2-2.
in the 39th minute of play. At that stage, Sydney CSC lost their way somewhat, but it was a superb strike indeed, wasn't it, from Lamond, a key player in this 11. And before the game, Manfred Schaefer read out the riot act to his star player, one of his star players, I might add, considering the form they've been displaying this year. And Lamond has answered the coach's request for a much better performance. He had a bit of a slow start. And incidentally, if you're wondering what the question is for this week's Daihatsu competition, the question is, can you tell us who the number 2 is for South Melbourne? The number 2 for South Melbourne, and I won't give you too many guesses, aside from the fact that he was promoted for today's game. The number 2 for South Melbourne. Now, Mark Babic, the other newly promoted player, who was looking for Lamond. Wade got in there. He had a pretty good first half at stopper, I thought. Wade has played 3 positions, sweeper, stopper, and in the midfield this season. As I went through the positional changes for South Melbourne, they've got so much depth. They might have Muscat injured, and sadly for them, Steve Blair looks like being out for the season, but they've got backup on the bench in the form of Harry Mikael and Peter Tsolakis. But Johnny, you were a most interested spectator. It was a contrasting first half, really. I know that spectators and viewers right around Australia would have seen just edited highlights, but it was a real topsy-turvy first half.
Well, it showed Sydney CSC's inexperience in some respects, Andy, because they conceded a goal in the first minute. That's the second week in the last 4 games they've done that. That's a sign of lack of concentration, lack of experience. So they virtually started a goal behind. And ironically, it wasn't until the change came when Milicevic went off and Jurilj came on, gave them a little bit of better control in midfield, because up until that stage, South Melbourne had really dominated in the midfield. But when the change came and Jurilj came on, suddenly it all changed for Sydney Croatia. We saw that marvellous goal from Lamond. And anyone's guess how many we're going to see in this second half. But I would think that Manfred at half-time would not have been too happy with the marking, Andy, particularly in midfield, and particularly the marking on Awaritefe. He ran very free in that first half. The type of play you can't allow any freedom to, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of tightening up in that area. There we are, see it now. Popovic will have to be closer to Awaritefe than he was in that first period.
You've got to pay credit to Popovic as well. He's playing with a bit of an injury. There was a cloud over his fitness, as well as Milicevic, who came off. But the right back Milicevic came off, which forced Mark Babic to right back. Popovic picked up Awaritefe, and they had the extra man in the midfield, which made all the difference for them, I thought. Now it's with Tasios. Trimboli's offside.
And he was a problem player for Sydney CSC in the first half. Paul Trimboli dropped into midfield and gave the superiority in the numbers for South Melbourne. And Trimboli, such a creative player. I'm sure he is someone that Manfred Schaefer there will have a tighter control on in the second half.
There was a real blow for Manfred last night.
Stanton, sorry Andy, probably Stanton I think will be assigned the task to pick Trimboli up there, number 6.
Number 6. Yes, just touching on that real blow for Manfred Schaefer's team last night. Tony Krslovic and Eric Christodoulou were practicing some free kicks, and Christodoulou landed awkwardly, and he might have a possible stress fracture. And that's a real sad situation, because Christodoulou has been one of the form players for Sydney CSC, and hasn't that man been in great touch this season as well. Awaritefe has now scored 9 goals in the Coca-Cola Soccer League, and Popovic has won the free kick there. It's with Petkovic now. And the experienced players started to show towards the latter part of that first half, which again made a difference to Sydney CSC.
Well, Manfred was looking for a big performance from his experienced players. It is basically a young side, relatively young side. And the likes of Petkovic, number 9 for Sydney CSC, coming back into it later in the first half. He needs a big game from him, as he had against Marconi last week.
And again, Wade there, he's done a very good job indeed as stopper. The Sydney CSC have been lifted, and there was Petkovic testing that right boot. It let him down there, but it appears that they've got this breeze. The hot, humid conditions greeted us today, and then the southerly came through. Ivan Petkovic, the most experienced player in this Sydney CSC team, well wide of the mark there.
And amazed, Andy, at half-time to find out the referee has given that second goal of South Melbourne has gone to Paul Wade. It was quite clear on the replays that it was an own goal. with prize money for the top scorer, apart from the prestige of being the top scorer. We saw one last week also involving South Melbourne, where Paul Trimboli credited with a goal which was clearly an own goal by Robbie Hooker of West Adelaide.
But Sydney CSC are on the attack again. They've started in a most positive manner in the second half. Now Tony Krslovic blocked again there by Wade. This is where South Melbourne was so dangerous. They broke away quickly through the midfield. And now Trimboli leaving it for Tasios. Stephen Tasios. Well, he clipped it inside, but it was always a big ask for Awaritefe. No trouble for Rumora. Lamond just back now for John Gibson. Krslovic scored from the penalty spot. Gibson looks up, gets a nice looking ball in, but there was no one there. And John Gibson, who's scored a few goals himself this year, has also got some lovely passes from the flanks. Dean Anastasiadis, he pulled off a great save to keep out Lamond, and then just minutes later, Lamond with one of the best goals you'll see in the Coca-Cola Soccer League. And we've seen a lot of goals this year, or this season in fact. Babic up there first, the youngster Jurilj. Petkovic, Krslovic, good turn. And Lamond. Jurilj's calling for it. Trying to touch it on for Petkovic, but Gibson's there. Now Lamond. Too much on that. And Anastasiadis elects to keep it in. First against third. A favourable result for Sydney CSC will see a very congested top six. And we've heard progress scores that Marconi are leading Heidelberg by 3-0. So the top two teams have a duel of their own there in South Melbourne and Marconi. And if you haven't heard the other results that were played Friday and Saturday, Wollongong defeated Newcastle 2-1. And Awaritefe almost getting in there. And Francis a bit disappointed, but that was a lovely dive. It was a tough one to get onto.
It just proves you just cannot give him an inch anywhere near that 6-yard box. Quite deadly, and if Sydney CSC are going to win this match, they really have to keep him totally under wraps, and this player as well, Trimboli. You'll see Stanton a lot closer with him. First half, Trimboli giving too much room. That's the type of thing he does. Just able to open up the defence, Trimboli, with one pass.
South Melbourne unbeaten in the last 7 games, and they've just lost 1 in the last 11 rounds. It's 2-2 at the moment at the Croatian Sports Centre. Mark Babic has played just 5 full appearances after being a regular last season. And his other young Socceroo teammate is in possession, Popovic. Lamond. And the referee says Stephen Tasios will have committed the foul. Manis, it was a bit of a frustrating first 30 minutes for him, but he really livened up. And he livened up in deadly fashion. Just a little bit disappointed with the crowd here. Would have expected a much bigger crowd for first against third. I'm sure you're enjoying this game at home. Gibson. Again, Wade there. He's led by example at the back. He's taken over the captaincy from Stephen Blair. And that's a real big hole there to fill. Blair looks like being out for the rest of the season. A real blow for South Melbourne, but they do have a pretty big squad. Awaritefe, beautiful turn. And that's a corner on that far side. Francis Awaritefe was signed to replace Kim Monteadoris. And Tony Franken came in after being in limbo following Apia's exclusion from the league. And with the injury of Željko Kalac, Franken has played the last 6 games. And Željko Kalac has played in the youth team the past week and a half. So important in more ways than one for a lot of players in both teams today. 10 minutes up in the second half. Boutsianis in swinger. Stubbed his toe and consequently it was easily covered by Rumora. Now Hasler. That's a pretty good strike from Gary Hasler. We know how deadly he can be from that range. We've seen him play some beautiful long balls in this game to the front runners. We've seen a couple of long-range shots. Franken had it covered. It looked like it might have just swung away late. And the big switch again for Babic. He's nodding it on for Stanton. He looks up for support. Jurilj. Now Petkovic. Rumora coming forward. This is their 23rd meeting in the Coca-Cola Soccer League. And Sydney CSC have won 9 times. South Melbourne have won 5 times. And they're certainly playing like that at the moment, Sydney CSC. Lamond just nodding it on. Rumora. Caleta. Blocked by Durakovic. Durakovic and Wright have done a lot of work in the centre of that defence. And Sydney CSC, buoyed by their supporters here. The John Gibson corner. Petkovic has come across for the short one. Gibson. In it comes. Babic was up. Now Jurilj. Should go for goal. He does. It was easily blocked in the end. As Hasler stabs it on, hoping for Petersen. Petkovic looks up. Quite a different performance from Sydney CSC in this half. South Melbourne have had to do a lot of defending. Boutsianis. But they certainly can turn defence into attack very quickly. Tasios. Awaritefe on for Boutsianis. Trimboli. Now Awaritefe laying it off for Tasios. The flag didn't go up at all. Some of the Sydney CSC defenders thought he was offside, but intelligent play again from Awaritefe when most would have thought he would have gone for goal. Socceroo, Tony Franken, looking for Lamond. Up was Danny Wright. Wright, a milestone for him. His 250th appearance. There's no runners at the moment except perhaps Boutsianis. Hasler. Going long. Awaritefe and Popovic. Durakovic will get there ahead of Caleta. Tasios, South Melbourne getting back into their normal flow. Nice dummy by Trimboli. Hasler was in. So's Boutsianis there at the moment for South Melbourne. The deep ball, Trimboli's header, and there's the goal. Paul Trimboli does it yet again. His 5th goal of the season. Almost 15 minutes up in the second half. South Melbourne take the lead for the 3rd time. Trimboli was left free at the back post, and you can't afford to do that.
Well, Manfred will be sick about that. There's just no marking on Trimboli at the back. This is his 2nd goal with the head in the last 2 weeks. What an excellent ball from Boutsianis. Just lofts it over. Trimboli, look, completely free, just picks his spot. And goal number 6 for Trimboli this year, but a good challenge from Hasler. Won the ball. Boutsianis looks up, sees Trimboli completely free. That's a complete lack of discipline by Sydney CSC at the back. And you just cannot give a player of Trimboli's class that much room.
But in that build-up, John, it was a clever dummy by Trimboli, the clever play, and Hasler got in there in the ensuing passage.
Well, just as Sydney CSC looked as though they had South Melbourne against the ropes a little bit, Andy, there's South Melbourne coming back, catching them on the break. Again, from lack of discipline, which I put down to inexperience on Sydney CSC's part. They conceded the goal early in the first minute. They say you should never get goals against in that period. But again, it just indicates to me the lack of experience more as a team than as individual players.
Plenty of time left in this game. Just about 30 minutes. And it's a busy period too for these two sides. On Wednesday night here, Sydney CSC play Marconi Fairfield in the second round, the first leg of the League Cup. First leg matches in round 2. And there's 3 other matches which I'll give you now. Heidelberg play South Melbourne at Olympic Village, kick off at 6. Preston at home to Adelaide City at Connor Reserve, kick off at 6. And Brisbane play Parramatta Eagles at Perry Park at 7:30. Of course, those two teams played last night. That match ended in a 3-3 draw. So look out for those 4 games, but it's here at the Croatian Sports Centre, the battle between first and third. South Melbourne up again. Awaritefe stung them into the lead after 75 seconds. Lamond now. And again, Durakovic. Commitment, 150%. Babic inside. Krslovic looks up for support. Stanton. And that came off Gary Hasler. And Gary Hasler, he'll cover any part of the ground you want him to. And one of the real characters of the Coca-Cola Soccer League. Jurilj, the youngster, his debut in the Coca-Cola Soccer League. Now with Petkovic. I thought he might have tried it from there. And Krslovic got in. And Lamond almost looked like getting on the end of it. Sydney CSC, who have one of the best defensive records in the league, they've only conceded 14 goals coming into this game. They've been opened up on a couple of occasions. South Melbourne, on the other hand, they've really been forced to make some changes in recent weeks. The changes have certainly worked for them. They're the leaders of the Coca-Cola Soccer League, but Sydney CSC will have something to say about that in the rest of this game. Gibson, again the deep ball. Anastasiadis comes and a very confident take from another man who's made his debut in the Coca-Cola Soccer League this season. Petkovic just laying it off. Stanton. Too deep this time. So the CSC are playing longer balls into that box. Obviously they see perhaps a weakness there, but you've got players like Durakovic and Wade policing the centre of the defence.
That's really the strong point of South Melbourne, isn't it, Andy? Particularly Wade in the air is so strong. One wonders whether it is a good tactic by Sydney CSC to hit it so early into the box. One would think with the likes of Gibson, Lamond operating on the flanks, that they'd be better opening them wider and crossing from closer to the byline rather than those optimistic balls that they're trying at this stage. The Wade move to centre-back's an interesting one, with Blair probably out, Muscat to come back in. Whether they'll keep Wade there, I think Hasler going into midfield and winning the ball. We did pose a question before the game whether Wade would be missed in a ball-winning capacity in midfield, but I think it's fair to say Hasler's really covered that. It's a nice problem for South Melbourne to have with Muscat available next week, what they're going to do with that defence.
And then, of course, Muscat and the rest of his young Socceroo teammates are going to camp to play Korea, so Muscat will be available for just the one game. Jurilj across now for Gibson. Gibson looks up for support, again a bit too deep. So they're looking for those deep balls into that box. 20 minutes into this second half. The visitors are leading by just that one goal. Petkovic. Jurilj is a local product and he's played in the Australian schoolboy side. There was no chance at all for Joe Caleta. Mark Babic. It's been a really frustrating season for him. Hasler for Tasios. Well, it's been a pretty good season for Steven Tasios. Injuries really affected him for 2 seasons there. He's one of the finest midfielders in the country. And now the young man Boutsianis, permanent fixture in this team, provider, a goal scorer. A lot of versatility in this South Melbourne side. Popovic. Manfred Schaefer rates him as perhaps the form player for his team. Lamond. The goal certainly making a big difference to his play. He's in a bit of bother there. As Awaritefe came back with him. There's certainly no arguments about the challenge. Ivan Petkovic. Popovic has come at the near post. And away by Hasler. Boutsianis. Good control at the edge of the area. Calm play. Tasios. And Petersen. We've seen it time and time again where South Melbourne will break away as quickly as possible. Trimboli's looked up, and there's the free man in Tasios. He really should strike it for goal from there. And evades the challenges, and he'll keep it in. And it looks like a throw-in on that far side. Just thought there that maybe Steve Tasios would have been better off having a shot for goal. Typical of the unselfish play we've seen from South Melbourne in recent weeks. Trimboli looking up to lay it off for Boutsianis. Too close to Tony Franken. Wright and Krslovic up. There was Danny Wright. Mirko Jurilj. Lamond. Krslovic. Yes, that was interesting. A very difficult task for Tony Krslovic. Still, it's with Trimboli on that far side. He's waiting for support. There's no one really coming through at the moment. So it goes back for Mike Petersen. Wade. Trimboli had seen Tasios. And it goes out from Robert Stanton. Flag goes up. As I just have a look at Matthew Zek limbering up on the sideline for Sydney CSC. And I just wonder when Zek, the substitute for Sydney CSC, will come on. Hasler. Good steal by Gibson. He's so deadly here. Gibson shoots and Anastasiadis again denies Sydney CSC. And that's the beauty of a player like John Gibson.
And they need more of it from him, Andy, coming from deep. Time for Sydney CSC really to pull everything out now. You're saying Zek warming up. There will be a change on up front. But they need the likes of John Gibson more in the game, more doing that type of thing.
Babic. Krslovic. Stanton. Caleta. Caleta and Healy. Petkovic. Anastasiadis comes. And he makes it look so easy. This young man was such a confident keeper. Now he's come of age in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Not a pretty shaky game against Heidelberg in the first half, but he's learned from the experience, particularly the high ball.
He's so sure in the air, Andy. He's not what you call a tall guy, but very, very strong in the air. Good time from James. Very positive when he wants to come out.
Stanton looks up for support. Hasler just got in there, but it's still with Stanton now. Sydney CSC. They're down by a goal. There's plenty of time left for them. Just over about 15, 16 minutes left. Quickly taken, Petkovic. Rumora. Finding it hard to break this South Melbourne defence. Boutsianis with a steal, and he turns. Oh, I thought he might have been better off just tapping it on and then breaking away down the left, but still he's done well here to get it on for Trimboli. That pass easily cut out by Popovic again. Awaritefe. Blocked again by Popovic. Gibson finding the 19-year-old local product Jurilj. Durakovic in there ahead of Lamond. Stanton now. And it was too much again to ask for Tony Krslovic. Some misdirected passes. Sydney CSC are just trying to break this South Melbourne defence. There have been some encouraging signs for them. 3-2 South Melbourne are leading. 15 minutes left in this game. Denny Wright screaming for the ball. He's free on that far left-hand side. And there's Wright. Well, what a game it could have been for him there. Could have been his first goal of the season in just his 250th appearance. Just, I say. Indeed, that's a fine record. Now the change, the second change for Sydney CSC. Babic is off, the defender off, the attacker on. And young Matthew Zek, a local product with 15 to go, he comes on. Zek scored 2 goals this season. He's come on from the bench 10 times already. Very strong, direct runner. Very powerful in possession, and he has a pretty good shot as well. Just what Sydney CSC need, but another goal here for South Melbourne could virtually wrap it up, I would think. The league leaders are up by that goal. It was the Trimboli goal that split them. The 59th minute, that Trimboli goal came. Speaking of the man, he's just passed it on now for Stephen Tasios. Had an outstanding second half against West Adelaide last week. Trimboli looks up. Hasler, another man who impressed at home at Middle Park. He lines up the shot. Ooh, that could have been dangerous. It looked like it was going to take a deflection off Rumora. It's the third time Gary has tried it from a fairly long range, and it's always looked pretty good for him. Tasios. No real urgency at the moment from South Melbourne. Content to maintain possession, let Sydney make the mistakes. No one was running through the middle in the area to receive it all.
But a good change by Sydney CSC. Manfred had to make one. There's only some 13 minutes remaining. Jurilj has gone back to fullback, Caleta into midfield, and Zek up front. But Zek, the type of player who maybe can get that all-important equaliser. But from South Melbourne's point of view, they've done the hard bit, the clock running down. They would look to retain possession. They have the type of players who can retain it. And with Marconi almost certainly winning down in Melbourne, South Melbourne need to win to maintain that first position.
And what a game that'll be next week at Middle Park. South Melbourne against Marconi. This second half here has been totally different to the first. It was
It has. If there's a criticism of Sydney CSC in the second half, Andy, is they've tried to play through the middle too much. And when you have the likes of Socceroos, Durakovic and Wade tying up the middle, I think you're only asking for trouble and probably only going to score by a little bit of luck. The attacks need to come more down the flanks, particularly when you've got a player like Lamond who can take people on. And perhaps again a little bit of inexperience, a little bit of too urgent in their attacks, that they want to get it to the other end as quickly as possible. But you've got the likes of Wade there in the middle, excellent in the air. Durakovic, the experience. You're going to have a tough time just trying to win with a lot of high balls down the middle.
And I ask you the question, John, do you think that Paul Wade might end up playing in the centre of the defence?
Why not? I mean, he's experienced enough to play anywhere on the park. We saw him playing sweeper the week before. His strength is being able to win the ball in the air and to win it cleanly, and we've seen it tonight on many, many occasions, particularly against Krslovic, who's not easy to beat in the air.
Here comes the Petkovic free kick, a very deep one. Krslovic was up there, now Petersen just playing it safe.
It's the beauty of South Melbourne. I mean, they have many options with so many players and such depth that they drop a player like Hasler in. You've got injuries today, you bring in a player like Healy. So it is a strength.
Now Petkovic, right idea. And the referee says yes, it did take a touch. We can start counting them down here at the Croatian Sports Centre. Just over 10 minutes. Petkovic has tried this on a couple of occasions today. Much better strike. Well over that bar. No trouble at all for Wade. Petersen. They're starting to break away from the defence. South Melbourne, the runners have come through, but it's with Popovic. Hasler. And the hasty clearance. And the ball was out. So the change, there'll be a change actually. The first change for South Melbourne with 10 to go. Boutsianis is coming off. Peter Tsolakis is coming on. And Peter Tsolakis is no stranger to the Coca-Cola Soccer League. Fast approaching the 200 club in appearances. Wright wins the duel with Lamond. Zek was up there. Will Zek come through? And Durakovic again there for South Melbourne. But now it's 2-on-2. Well, it's becoming 5-on-4. Awaritefe. Tsolakis is screaming through the centre. But Tasios is the closest player to him at the moment. Tasios. Well, again, I thought maybe lining up from the shot, the angle looked pretty good from where we were sitting here. Gibson now. Jurilj. Caleta. Well, the referee says that Danny Wright has struck Caleta. Bob Davies, he's had a good game today as well. This is his 96th game, I think, almost approaching the mark. And now the opportunity. And Krslovic, the captain, was taken over from Velimir Kupršak as captain. He's the club captain. And Kupršak is the first team captain. He's already scored from the penalty spot tonight. The clock is really against Sydney CSC now. We saw last week when South Melbourne were leading West Adelaide 3-1 that they came back through a Lazaridis goal, and this is what they really need here. Sydney CSC, a similar goal. Krslovic. Gibson's through the middle. Did the right thing. He was trying to touch it on for Petkovic, but again the South Melbourne defence are closing them down. And you've got to go back to what you said earlier, John. They're going through the centre. Maybe they should have opened it up much more in the second half and used the width of this park, because it's a pretty big ground here, the Croatian Sports Centre. We've seen too many long balls into the centre of the box and trying to run through.
Well,
the
it may prove us wrong in these final minutes, Andy, by scoring with that method, but I feel they would have been better advised to play it wide and open South Melbourne up. But Durakovic weighed, particularly in the middle, too strong.
Here's Peter Tsolakis. Sensational goal indeed. The substitute comes on and makes sure of the points. Well, if anyone has a point to prove to his coach, Jim Petkovic, he's done it there, hasn't he? Peter Tsolakis makes it 4-2. And that, Johnny, would really have to be the ball game.
It would be the ball game, but we talk about South Melbourne and fancying them for the title. One of the reasons is that they have the depth. Tsolakis on the field for 30 seconds, virtually with his first touch, does things like that. And this is the reason why so many of us rate South Melbourne as the team to beat.
An amazing goal. Beautiful strike from Tsolakis. And that is virtually it. That is virtually it. We saw the revival from Sydney CSC on 2 occasions in the first half. As the fans, and you can see the fans are starting to leave this ground. Awaritefe, who led them on the fine way with a magic goal in the opening exchanges. The scorer, Tsolakis. Back for Petersen. Awaritefe just getting it on, but there's plenty of numbers there. And the referee's pulled up for an elbow. Right at the edge of the area. Just over 5 minutes left. The Coca-Cola Soccer League leaders, South Melbourne, are ahead by 4 goals to 2. They've really been scoring some goals of late. In previous 4 games, they had scored 11 goals and today 4. Averaging just on 3 goals per game in the last 5 rounds. One of the reasons we've had such an increase in the goals. Tsolakis will strike it from there, which he does! A double for Peter Tsolakis! There'll be celebrations in Coburg tonight. Peter Tsolakis has got a few friends over watching this game and they'll be jumping for joy. 5-2, Tsolakis grabs a double.
It's a splendid strike, Andy, but one must put it down. A very poor wall by Sydney CSC as well. Watch, it breaks up here and allows Tsolakis to just drill it through the middle. Franken unsided.
No chance at all for the Socceroo, Tony Franken.
And what does South Melbourne do with a player who comes on and scores 2 goals in the last 5 minutes?
That's
a nice
headache.
problem to have.
Well, Jim Petkovic, this is his debut season in the Coca-Cola Soccer League. He was an assistant to Ferenc Puskás for so long. Manfred Schaefer, as you can see there, words don't have to be expressed at all.
He will not be happy because Manfred, as a player and as a coach, very, very strong discipline, and there is no excuse for not doing things that you should do properly, and putting a wall up is one of them, Andy. It's a basic thing. I don't want to take anything away from the splendid strike from Peter, but Manfred will be fuming about that, and with every right. If you can't line a wall up properly, professional players, well, you can't blame the coach or anyone else for that. It does again illustrate perhaps a little bit of inexperience as a team. We did pose a question before the game, were Sydney CSC contenders for the title or perhaps just pretenders for it? And I think it's been proved tonight the difference between a team that we look at as the favourite, or one of the favourites for the title, and one of the challengers. There is a gap. It's a very minor one, but it's at crucial stages of the game they convert where the opponent or the team that wants, maybe it's just not good enough to win the championship, can't do it.
Well, Harry Mikael comes on. This is his first appearance of the season. Such is the depth at South Melbourne. He has come on for Stephen Tasios. Seven goals in the match of the day. That's been an area where you wouldn't have been disappointed. And that wasn't a bad strike at all from Robert Stanton. Just over that crossbar.
Just on Sydney CSC, Andy, I think, you know, they're a team that nobody gave a chance at the start of the year. They're quite a young side. Their draw for the remainder of the season, they're only out of Sydney, or only out of New South Wales twice, once to Brisbane, once to Heidelberg. They've got more home games than anyone else in the second round. And I don't think they should let the heads drop too much. South Melbourne are in form. They're beating a lot of teams at this stage and beating them well. I wouldn't get too down with tonight. There are lessons to be learned, particularly that concentration in the opening few minutes. To start any game one behind, and they've done it twice in the last month, is just not on. And apart from that, of course, we saw the wall there, which shouldn't happen really in schoolboy football, that you can see the goal like that. So there's some of the lessons for Sydney CSC.
And Tsolakis is back there to help his defence. Timely interception. Trimboli has done a lot of work today. Also on the scorer sheet. Petersen. Nicely done by Caleta. And Zek and Anastasiadis. Confident play from the young keeper again.
Just looking ahead, Andy, to next week, South Melbourne in red-hot form. We've got our information from Melbourne at this stage. Marconi were leading 3-0 at half-time. There'd be a point separating the top of the table. First and second is on next week. And that promises to be some game.
South Melbourne, this is their biggest result of the season. Earlier in the competition, they had beaten Sydney Olympic 3-1 at Olympic Park in the rain. 5-2, their best result so far. Can Sydney CSC salvage a late goal? Zek is trying his best at the moment. The numbers are there for South Melbourne again. The captain Wade. We're playing stoppages. Petersen, Awaritefe goes behind him, but straight to Tsolakis. Will he go for his hat trick? He does, and Franken just gets down. We've had just on a minute of stoppages. Lamond, who scored an absolutely magnificent goal. That was always a pretty tough one there for Gibson. And I should remind you that away from the Coca-Cola Soccer League, the Road to Wembley series is back on Thursday nights on SBS. And of course on the ball on Saturday afternoons. Awaritefe sneaking in. Going for the goal. The angle was impossible for him. But he'll be happy he's scored a goal again. He's pressing for the leading scorer award this season. Sydney CSC will have to regroup. They have a cup game here against Marconi on Wednesday night. South Melbourne also have a cup game against Heidelberg on Wednesday at Olympic Village. And again, Preston playing Adelaide City at Connor Reserve. And Brisbane at home to Parramatta, but an outstanding game for South Melbourne. They weathered the storm. There were signs of a great fight back from Sydney CSC, but in the end, the experience, I suspect, told.
Experience and the way Sydney CSC played, we felt it throughout that second half that when they did have the wood on South Melbourne, they were trying to play too much through the middle. It was really easy pickings for the likes of Wade and Durakovic, but South Melbourne again proving, Andy, as if we need any further evidence, they are one of, if not the team to beat this year. And their clash next week with Marconi promises to live up to the billing, which will be the match of the season.
That certainly appears to be, as the South Melbourne players are coming across to salute their loyal supporters. There's been a contingent that have come up for this game. And they've got every reason to be delighted today. They've beaten Sydney CSC by 5-2. So on behalf of Johnny Warren and the rest of the SBS crew, Until next time, it's bye for now from the Croatian Sports Centre.